studio. Here's Steve Kaplowitz and Adrian Broadus.
Oh, happy Tuesday, everybody. Yes, it's Tuesday. Another day into the coaching search for the next UTEP head football coach. Love it. Alberto's here. He's wearing his FC Juarez green jersey. I love that jersey. I think it's one of the nicest kits around. Adrian Broadus hanging out at our 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studios. What a great game last night, right? I mean, seriously, wasn't that thrilling football? Can you imagine if you watched the Buffalo-Philadelphia game? Truly one of the greatest games of the season, if not the best game of the season. And then you watched last night's game. I mean, you probably were watching the game thinking, why is the NFL trying to torture us on a Monday night with two teams that, I mean, look, Chicago won this game with 4 field goals. 4 field goals, including a game winner with 10 seconds left, a 30-yarder. There's your Monday night game. I mean, I was at the Ale House hosting the party last night, and I started laughing when I was getting ready to go up at halftime in a 3-3 football game. And I told the crowd what a riveting game this is, and they were hilarious. They thought it was the funniest thing ever. I was like at the comic strip performing on the stage. That was what it was like. It was just bad football.
You know, I'm disappointed I didn't see the very end, Steve. I was on the phone talking a lot about this UTEP story. I think I've been breathing this one just like you. Like, it's just nonstop. It's round the clock. It's exhausting following this, but it's necessary, and it's very interesting to hear everybody's take on the UTEP hire. But I left my living room, and I was just pacing around the house, and I look up, and then I see how it ended. I thought the Vikings had it done. I thought Josh Dobbs was going to get another dub for the Vikings. And now Justin Fields gets a win with the Bears. By the way, his job's on the line. Matt Eberflus's job's on the line. He looked a little bit better yesterday. Justin Fields, still not a fan of Eberflus. Yeah. But, they're going to have to really decide whether or not they want to move forward with Justin Fields after the season.
I don't know what to do with him. What would you do?
I don't know, man.
That's a really tough
I don't
call.
really know because sometimes I watch him like last night. I'm like, okay, I can actually see you winning with him as your quarterback. But then I think, man, everything has to be right. You have to have a great line. You have to have receivers who are as dynamic or more dynamic than DJ Moore, who's their solid number 1 receiver. And if they don't have those things working for him, I don't know if he's going to work out with them.
I don't know either. I don't know what's going to happen. It's like that whole team. I mean, here's the thing. If you're the Bears and you have like a top 2 or top 3 overall pick, how do you not take a quarterback? But on the flip side, when is enough enough? Like, you've gambled and lost on so many quarterbacks in recent years. Do you just give Justin Fields a chance to try to give him some more toys to play with?
I think what we've learned from quarterbacks that we sway with, like we want to know, are they the guy? Are they not the guy? Look, Mac Jones, now revisionist history, the Patriots probably should have drafted a quarterback. You look at Zach Wilson, the Jets probably should have moved on from him last offseason and had a better backup option to Aaron Rodgers than just Tim Boyle alongside Zach Wilson. So I think what coaches might start to realize is the leash should be shorter on some of these quarterbacks. Now, to be fair, Justin Fields does deserve a chance still, and I don't think that he will be out of the league whatsoever. I think he's still going to be a quarterback in this league, and he's a very, very good athlete. Every time you watch him, he's running the ball. Yesterday, he was throwing the ball pretty crisp.
Yep.
So, he set up the game-winning field goal with that nice pass to DJ Moore.
He did, and you know what? They still got the win. It was ugly. It was a low-scoring game. I mean, I thought the over-under could have been 16, and it would have gone over barely. I mean, what was the final? The final was 12-10. I
right.
mean, it's crazy the way that game was. And, sometimes it goes to show you could have a low-scoring game, and, hey, win's a win, right? Whether you win 45-42 or 12-10, what does it matter? As long as you get the dub.
Yeah, it reminded me of Nebraska-Iowa with that low score.
Good one. Very good one. All right, most people are probably tuning in today going, what the heck are you guys doing spending the first 5 minutes of the show talking about that Bears-Vikings game that nobody cares about unless you're our bosses at the radio station and you're from Chicago. And even our bosses don't even care. Let's be honest. They couldn't care less about the Bears right now. The Bears are going nowhere. They're probably rooting for them to lose so they can get the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, tough time to be a Bears fan or White Sox fans or even a Bulls fan. Man, you already checked out if you're a Bulls fan too, so sorry, Chicago.
At least the Blackhawks had the number one pick in the draft and got a game changer, so that's nice.
Very true. Yeah, they have something to be excited about.
All right, look, we're on with you till 6. John's going to be back at Hudson, 1770 Lee Trevino. He's talking UTEP hoops with UTEP basketball with Keitha Adams and Joe Golding. So as Tice says, drop by for a burger, a shake, and get the latest from coaches Adams and Golding. And we'll have it for you as well, 6 to 7 right here, 600 ESPN El Paso. So you're probably wondering, well, what happened? What's new? What's the latest? What's going on? Who's getting interviews? Who's in? Who's out? Please, it's Tuesday. I mean, Colin Deaver said it best. They're vetting right now. Now, here's my thoughts on the vetting process, okay? They've known this was coming for 6 weeks. Chances are they've already vetted some of the names that they are most interested in. But I think what has to happen is those individuals that they are wanting to talk to, well, they have to apply too. It's not like, you might have 2 or 3 names on the list, but if they don't show any interest, obviously you're not going to go after them for the job. I mean, you want somebody to apply for it and say they're interested, not have you come to them and then somebody say, oh yeah, I mean it's I've thought about it. You want genuine interest from the candidates. So since the story broke Sunday, I'm sure resumes have been flowing in Sunday and Monday, probably mostly Sunday, but Sunday, Monday. So if UTEP is vetting, what that probably means more than anything, Adrian, is they're putting their list together, and now they'll start trimming that down to potential candidates that they will want to talk to and interview. We heard yesterday that the offensive coordinator for UNLV, I mean, this might be the most interesting part of the story, but we heard that really there's one name who has, according to some sources on social media, leaked as far as the job, and Brennan Marion is it. That's the guy. He's your top pick for the job. He is the UNLV OC, and according to what we've read on social media from some junior college X or Twitter account, that he is interested in the job.
That's right. JUCO Football Frenzy reported that Brennan Marion, the offensive coordinator for UNLV, is interested in the job. Take it for what it's worth. I mean, it's just a social media account that's posting this. This account, I'll be fair, has done a lot of transfer stuff, has done a lot of NIL stuff as well, and reported on things like that. I'll say it again, man. This is my number 1 guy. UNLV had almost 500 yards of total offense against UTEP when they came to the Sun Bowl and smacked the Miners. They put up over 40 points and beat the Miners in a game that UTEP felt good about winning. And then Sal Montes pointed this out yesterday. I love the fact that Brennan Marion was actually a part of the Tulsa teams that would come to town against the Miners in the mid-2000s. He put up 136 receiving yards and then 233 receiving yards in 2 games against the Miners when he was playing as a wide receiver for Tulsa. How about that?
That's big time. Big numbers. That was against Trevor Vidito back in the day.
That's right, yeah.
It was like 13 years ago. I think Brendan Marion is 36 years old.
That sounds right, because Chris Adams is right around that age. Trevor Vidito is definitely in that age range. So, yeah, it's really cool, though, to see somebody like that, full circle, have some interest in this school.
So I was at UTEP today on, in the athletic offices, and I've been told from people that are in the know that this is the most hush-hush and zipped-up search they've ever been a part of since these individuals have been at UTEP, and that goes back to the previous administration. So apparently, Adrian, there is no word, there's nothing leaking out of UTEP thus far, and everybody is saying that this is going to be kept under wraps, which I'm sure it's not. I mean, we'll find out eventually as people leak it. You know, you've got coaches, agents, and friends and people like that love to talk, and the next thing you know, it'll probably go to somebody else in the media, and then they'll get it out, and everybody will follow and piggyback on that. But from what I've heard, it is a very, very hush-hush search as of now.
I'm not surprised. This is the time of year to put on Pete Thamel, turn on his notifications, turn on the notifications of Brett McMurphy, because those are going to be the college football insiders who do this on a daily basis, who break news on a daily basis and have these kind of relationships with agents, with athletic directors, who you name it. Those are going to be the guys who likely break this story, in my opinion, just knowing what we know right now. I think it's right to infer that there are candidates like Marion, like maybe even Jeff Grimes, the Baylor offensive coordinator, and even like Mac Leftwich, who could be really interested in this job. Now, the other side of it is UTEP interested in those names, and who are they going to side with? Yeah,
that's exactly right. My favorite though are the accounts on social that are having fun with this.
Me too.
There are some hilarious messages so far. Yeah, what's your personal favorite?
I think you know which one's my favorite. Sources tell me that Jim Setter had an interview with Jonathan Byers and Jacob Cooksey as head coach. That's my favorite. That's number one.
That is the greatest. That comes from @LiveUTEP News earlier today.
That's the best tweet I think I've seen all year.
I don't know who's got UTEP News @LiveUTEP News, but that is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, shout out. I think his name is Anthony. He's a big UTEP fan.
That's great.
He's been to the district with us for some of the watch parties. Big shout out to him. He did a great job on that tweet.
I love that. I mean, and by the way, Jonathan Byers and Jacob Cooksey, you should be honored that UTEP News decided to throw you in for the coaching searches for UTEP. That is just beautiful.
Oh,
beautiful.
Man. He just missed a couple others like Joe John. That's the only we missed my
no, Joe John's on Friday.
Yeah,
he's coming up on
true.
He'll be up on Friday.
UTEP Mineto. Shout
there
out
you
him.
go. There you go. So anyway, if you have not read our pick or pass list, you need to. By the way, I've already flip-flopped on 3 different candidates, okay? And the reason is that when this story first came out and Adrian told me on Sunday he's putting this together and he needs input, I just gave my gut initial feelings. Then I started calling and vetting on my own, and I have talked to former head coaches, athletic directors, high school legendary coaches for some of these individuals, and I'm getting a better picture of some of the candidates that I might have initially. You know what's funny? I've switched from pass to pick on 3 guys. I have not switched from pick to pass on anybody yet.
So people are maybe convincing you, and you had reasons for some of these guys and why you didn't want them in the first place, but you might be swayed a little bit. However, no one is dissuading you so far.
My original list was 2 guys. Like, it was hilarious. Like, I passed on every single candidate except for 2. And then I thought, that's a little weird. I gotta at least be a little more accepting than saying no to everybody on the list except for 2 guys. So I've got 6 picks on this list. I think I'm 6 picks, and I don't know how many passes I got to say about that. So how many do we have on the list altogether? Do you know how many candidates we have?
Not off the top of my head. Let me check real quick. I've got the story right in front of me. We divided it also up between head coaches and rising assistants, rising other coaches. So, yeah, I got to do that here. I've got it open right here. Let me do the math.
Okay, please. Because I think there's about 12 altogether. I feel like there's about 12. So I might be like 50-50. Like pick 6, pass 6 is where it was. It used to be like, originally it was pick 2, pass 10, but now I feel like I've softened up a little.
We went 16 names.
16?
Yes. We threw in Ed Reed.
Oh, that's right. I picked Ed Reed.
Yeah,
I like it. I like Ed Reed. So that's good. Anyway, all right. Are you picking on the majority of them, or are you passing? What would you say you are?
I think the majority of mine are picks, and that's not a good thing. I think I need to go back in. Maybe I need to go back in and reevaluate.
Some picks to pass?
Some passes, yeah.
All right, I like that. When we come back, Shehan Jeyarajah is going to join us. I can't wait to get his thoughts on the UTEP job and who he likes the best. So we'll weigh in with one of our favorites talking college football, Shehan, right after Charlie 1 in this traffic update. Back here on Sports Talk as we continue. Adrian, what do you think? I went to UTEP today. I found 12 posters. I brought them all down, and now we are giving UTEP the love they need. We've got everything wrapped up here beautifully on our walls.
Yeah, everything from 80s Miners Magic Night to Miner basketball to beach volleyball. We got it all there, and I think this will stop all the ugly stares we get from our UTEP guests who keep staring at Diego Pavia and Casey Iziagu is the only two posters we have other than the Sun Bowl.
We're going to take those NMSU photos, put them over here with the CUSA and the Sun Bowl.
Nice.
We're going to design. We're redesigning this whole place right
Looks
now,
great.
making it look nice. I like that. I think it looks solid, don't you? And I even have room for another 4 more UTEP posters. If they give us some more, we can do that. So we're gonna switch gears right now and say hello to a man that, gosh, when was the last time Shehan joined us on the program?
Yeah, it's a great question, Steve. Maybe the off season, maybe a quick check-in before football season started. So it's a shame that it took this long to catch back up with him, the man from CBS Sports.
Man, oh man, you're right. National college football writer. He does it all, and he's with us right here as we continue on Sports Talk. Look what it took. It took a dismissal and a coaching search at UTEP to get you back on the show. Shehan, can you believe it?
I can't believe it. I guess when you really think about it, I mean, Dana Dimel's first year was my first year at Dave Campbell's Texas football, so I've gone through 2 lives since the last time UTEP had a coaching search. Yeah,
it's been a while. It really has. But listen, I'm happy to have you back, excited about that, and more than anything else, what a year it's been. New Mexico State's in their first year. They're playing for a CUSA title against Liberty, and UTEP's looking for a new head coach. I would not have predicted all of those events when we probably talked to you back here in August.
No, it's been quite a year, obviously. Obviously, like you mentioned, New Mexico State being able to turn that thing around really quickly. Think of the big win over Auburn, of course, a couple of weeks ago. But, man, it's definitely been a chaotic one. I think this has been a really good first year for Conference USA. Obviously, we didn't necessarily know how things were going to work out, but, Liberty, I think, has been one of the best group of 5 teams in the country. I think they're very much still in the conversation for the New Year's Six if Tulane were to fall somewhere down the road. And now Delaware going to be joining later this year as well. So big year overall.
Yeah, it really is. By the way, speaking of Liberty football, and I'm really curious about your take on this, okay? Because we know they're undefeated. We know they've got a chance to be undefeated. And yet, you tell me, would you give Jamie Chadwell Coach of the Year or Jerry Kill, considering that when you look at these two individuals, one has a enormous budget, is getting paid a fortune, has every single tool at his disposal to win, and the other is Jerry Kill?
It's a great race. I mean, seriously, obviously, New Mexico State getting to 10 wins potentially is just unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff, obviously. And, I do want to say, like you mentioned Liberty, obviously having the research that they had, to come in and immediately not just continue what Hugh Freeze did, but to really exceed everything that he did during his tenure. I mean, I do think Jamie Chadwell deserves a lot of credit. If it were me making the decision, I think that it should go to Jerry Kill. I think it will ultimately go to Jerry Kill because this isn't just a good year for New Mexico State. This is one of the best seasons in the history of that program. But I do think that if it went to Chadwell, it would certainly be deserved.
Shehan, you came to El Paso, I think it was in Dana Dimel's second season or after that, in the off season of that, and you got a chance to get to know this program pretty well from the inside and talk to some of the players around this. Now fast forward to 2023, how will you remember the Dana Dimel era, and why didn't it work?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, right? Obviously, they were able to put together a winning season in 2021. They were able to put themselves in a position to go to bowl games a couple of other times. So, Look, obviously every coaching tenure really at the end of it tends to end with failure in one way or another. And the fact that it lasted this long and was that competitive, I think that it honestly went, I would say, better in some ways than what I expected. But, when I see the kind of rise up, but their inability to kind of hit that next level, I think that I have to look at a couple of things. One, I think that the player development was a mixed bag. Obviously, I think they found some really talented kids, and it's a tough thing to do, and they deserve a lot of credit for finding kids like obviously Jacob Cowing, Gavin Hardison, Deion Hankins. I mean, Deion was a little bit more of a known commodity, but still, I think that they did a good job of finding and putting these guys in good positions. But I think that what started to come about is these guys, I think, just when you looked at the way that they were being utilized, it wasn't always maximizing their strengths. And obviously there were numerous coordinators that came through on both sides of the ball. I don't think that they ever fully figured out what they wanted to be. I think that part of that is also, obviously Dana Dimmel was the former Kansas State offensive coordinator, and there were times where I felt like they played too conservative a style of football. So I don't know that they ever got the sort of math right of player development mixed with identification, mixed with scheme to match it. And ultimately, I think it just ended up putting a cap on the program.
We're talking right now with Shehan Jeyarajah here on Sports Talk as we continue. So the search officially began on Sunday. Many of us thought that the announcement officially would come either after the game Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. So it comes on Sunday. We're hearing today that UTEP could be in the vetting process for candidates. We wrote about it. We had a large pick or pass article up on the website that we put up yesterday. Shehan, there are so many names that could be thrown around for this job. It's fascinating when you think about current head coaches, former head coaches, assistants, coordinators, guys that might have had ties to the program years ago, a lot with El Paso or UTEP ties. I mean, sky's the limit as far as when it all comes down to it, who could be interested in the job and who UTEP could be looking to take over the program.
No, there's no doubt about it. And, if it were me, right, and obviously I'm not Jim Center, he has a lot of big decisions to make, I would say two things. One, I think that you don't want to over-rely on people with ties to UTEP and the program. Obviously, I do think it gives some advantage to have somebody who does have some background in the area, does have some background in the program, and obviously knows how great the El Paso community is, because it can be a real strength if you understand it in a good kind of way. But I think that I would not just try to go back to the well per se. And the other thing too is that whether or not the head coach is this, I think that a priority needs to be trying to get some young staff in the building. We look over at New Mexico State, and obviously they have a couple of experienced guys as well. But, a lot of their staff is under 40, under 35, a couple even under 30, and putting it together with the coach and Jerry Kill, who obviously is letting them go to work, I think it's worked in a really good way. So there needs to be some level of innovation, and that's something that I hope that we see from this next staff.
More with Shehan as we continue, but right now back to Adrian and this Sports Center update. Live UTEP News has a poll up there. Who would you rather have as UTEP coach? You can vote for Jonathan Byers, Joe John Sr., and Jacob Cooksey right now if you want to give your... And there's been 21 votes cast so far.
I need to cast my vote, Steve.
You do. We all need to cast our vote.
Yeah.
Shehan, you'll enjoy this. Jonathan, Joe John, and Jacob are three of the most engaged UTEP fans on social media. So UTEP News has decided that he wants one of those three to have the job. So he's putting the poll out there and letting everybody vote on which UTEP superfan should be the next head coach of the team.
I love it. Look, you got to get some people in the building, right, who love UTEP and who love El Paso.
I'm so interested to see how this poll goes, so we'll have to give you the results on that later in the show. Meanwhile, as far as actual candidates go, let's talk about this for a second. There's a lot of names that have been thrown out there. Let's begin with Brennan Marion at UNLV, because we found out yesterday through another social media handle that apparently there is mutual interest. UTEP might be interested in Marion. He could could be interested in the job. He interviewed already at San Diego State. They're going in a different direction, but it does seem like Brennan Marion's stock is pretty high right now. You tell me, is he somebody who, in your opinion, still needs a little time, or do you feel like he is somebody that will soon have his first head coaching opportunity?
No, I think that he absolutely is going to soon be in the conversation for head coaching opportunities. He's had really a meteoric rise in a lot of ways. And to me, it's been very deserved. You know, he went through first, I believe he's at William & Mary. He developed this sort of go-go offense is what they call it. He brought it to Pitt. He brought it to Howard. He eventually was receivers coach at Texas, had a lot of success there, and got his first FBS coordinator opportunity now at UNLV. And the funny thing about it is that if you look back, the guy who was supposed to be the offensive coordinator at UNLV was Bobby Petrino, who ended up going on to Texas A&M. When he ended up moving on, Brennan Marion was given that job, and you look around, and all of a sudden, UNLV is the best team in the Mountain West, largely on the strength of their offense. So I think that he's absolutely ready for his opportunity. Certainly, when you hire somebody as young as he is, I believe he's 36 years old, there's going to be some risk that comes with it. But I do think that he has, one, been around college football enough. He's coached in different parts of the country, obviously spent the last year out in the deserts at UNLV. And I think the other part of it, too, is that he is doing some innovative stuff on the offensive side of the ball. He's really he runs a very high-powered offense, fast-paced offense, but also a unique one. And when I talk about guys who are innovators, that's the kind of coach that I think that I'd be looking for.
Well, and that's my question is, number one, he's a little different than what we've seen in recent years, that's for sure. And because of his age, he's probably also somebody that could bring a pretty young staff in with himself, and it'd be a totally different kind of culture than what UTEP's used to.
No, there's no question about it. And I think that the other thing, too, is that at UTEP right now, you really need energy because it's not just about coaching good football. Certainly that's part of it, but you need somebody at this point who's going to energize the community. I mean, look, for all the stuff that obviously the previous staff brought, it was an older staff. It was a staff that, I mean, I don't want to go as far as saying it, but, you know, it's closer to a retirement staff than an up-and-coming staff. And so I do think that, you know, when you talk about guys who will want to be out in the community, guys who will want to be faces of the program, you know, I think that Brennan Marion could be that kind of coach.
Well, I'll tell you what, I look at some of the other ones right now that are out there. Give me your take on Tony White, the Nebraska defensive coordinator, who played his high school ball at UTEP at Burgess, and then somebody that I talked about for weeks, Will Stein, the Oregon offensive coordinator. They're both making about $800,000 right now as a Power 5 coordinator. Are they two individuals that you believe when they get their first head coaching opportunity could be maybe Power 5 versus Group of 5, or could they also be in play here?
Yeah, I think that they are much more Power 5 candidates than they would be Group of 5 candidates, especially Tony White. I think that Tony White, you know, he was in conversations at Syracuse where he coached before he went to Nebraska. And I think that, you know, you listen to Matt Rule talk about Tony White, he kind of said, like, look, you can be a head coach right now, and I encourage you to be a head coach right now, but make sure you're going to the right place. And I think in some ways Syracuse wasn't even the right place with their level of investment. So if I were him, I'd wait it out. He did a great job in his first year at Nebraska as defensive coordinator. He runs an innovative sort of 3-3-5 system. Certainly if you can attract him home, that's a conversation worth having. You know, just frankly, I think that Tony White will have the opportunity to be a Power 5 head coach very soon, if not this cycle. Will Stein, you know, so somebody who came up actually through the Texas high school ranks, actually served on staff at Lake Travis High School in Texas under Hank Carter before he went to UTSA, had a lot of success, obviously now gone to Oregon and become a name to know. So I think the question is certainly, you know, look, obviously UTEP would give him the opportunity to come back to Texas where he has a lot of familiarity. But, you know, like you kind of mentioned, is he potentially a Power 5 candidate with another great year of work? You look at the guy who had the job right before him. It was Kenny Dillingham, who obviously is now the head coach at Arizona State. I do believe that he's going to wait things out. And certainly if you're Will Stein right now, I don't think you're in any rush to try and get your first job because he's also still just 34 years old.
Shehan, you are a Baylor guy. You were all over the Aranda news recently this week. One of their coaches who recently got fired, Jeff Grimes, is a part of this mix as well. He's somebody who played for the Miners in the 80s. And I know that Miner fans might roll their eyes initially hearing that a fired offensive coordinator could be a candidate for this job, but you realize that Grimes was up for big jobs previously in previous coaching cycles. What do you think about him, Jeff Grimes, as an option?
Well, and the other part, too, is that it would be 3 straight offensive line coaches that would potentially be getting this UTEP job. But I do think that there's a lot to like about Jeff Grimes. I will caution, I really hope that the reason that they would think going this direction isn't just cost, because obviously he's going to be working through a buyout. There's probably going to be some offsets, so obviously you could get him cheap. I hope that that's not the reason that UTEP would look his direction. But putting that aside, so I got to know Jeff Grimes just a little bit during his time at Baylor, and there's a lot to like. So I think that he's a very good developer of talent. He's a fantastic offensive line coach. You know, when you talked about him, I mean, just for people to know, obviously he coached at Baylor the last 3 years. Before that, he was Zach Wilson's coach, and that doesn't sound very good right now, but at BYU, that was a big deal. He did a really good job with Zach Wilson and helped turn him into a first-round NFL draft pick and coordinated one of the top offenses in the entire country. So he showed a history of potentially being able to generate high-powered offenses, of being able to do some innovative stuff. The big thing that I would ask if Jeff Grimes did get this job is, you know, like kind of I mentioned, will you bring in a younger staff? Will you bring in an innovative staff? Will you bring in some guys who maybe have the opportunity and ability to do some to really mix things up schematically? You know, I think that he's a very smart schematic guy. I definitely think that just by the end of his 3rd season, some of the guys at Baylor were just starting to tune him out a little bit. But I do think that there's a lot to like about Jeff Grimes. And I do think that he's somebody who has the ability to maybe take this program to another level.
Shehan Jeyarajah with us here on Sports Talk as we continue discussing some of the names that could be in the mix for this UTEP head football job. Give me your thoughts on Zach Kittley, Texas Tech offensive coordinator, and also Kenny Perry, Texas Tech associate head coach. They've both also been mentioned for this position.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think that Zach Kittley, maybe a year ago, would have been seen as a little bit of a higher profile case. He is somebody who comes from the Texas Tech tree. He was, I believe, a grad assistant under Cliff Kingsbury. He worked a whole lot with Patrick Mahomes. So he kind of still has that Patrick Mahomes sheen on him, which I think that some people really like. And he was also the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for Bailey Zappi, who obviously is now, again, similar deal. It doesn't sound as good now, but he was a great, great college football quarterback, completely revamped Houston Baptist, now Houston Christian, and took it to Western Kentucky, and it worked in a big way. And I think that you look at what he's done in West Texas. He has deep ties in West Texas in general. His father is actually Wes Kittley, who is the track and field coach at Texas Tech, maybe the best track coach in the entire nation. So, you know, he's somebody who I think would be really excited about the possibility of potentially trying to build something at UTEP if the opportunity was right. And I think that when you look at him offensively, the sort of one hesitation is that he's a pretty pure air raid guy historically. I do think that maybe he could grow into more than that, especially at a place like UTEP. But, you know, certainly it's an offense that's been proliferated in a lot of ways. So I think that I'd want to know what exactly he would plan to do with the kind of talent that UTEP could get. You know, we talk about Kenny Perry. This is somebody who has a deep Texas high school background. And, you know, this is sort of the existential question with UTEP as a program is how much of it is a Texas high school program? How much of it is sort of this kind of odd man out where you've got Arizona right there, where you've got New Mexico, where you've got Colorado, and also obviously trying to go into Texas. I think that when you talk about Kenny Perry, he's somebody who Joey McGuire knew really well before he had the opportunity to add him to his staff. He is less of a schematic guy. He's much more of a program building type guy. He also had some experience back at SMU before he did come over to Texas Tech. So there's a lot to be interested by, and he has deep ties in Texas. To me, though, again, I mean, I think that I would just wonder, are you going to bring over some young, exciting guys, or what exactly is your plan if you do go with a Kenny Perry?
Sean, we've on this show maintained the timeline for this and how important that plays into all this, knowing that the transfer portal officially opens on Monday, where players can actually be contacted by rival teams or opposing teams. And then you look December 20th, that's the day early signing day is supposed to wrap up, or at least kick off, I should say, and you're supposed to announce your early signing class. How important is hiring a coach and then hiring them quickly for this UTEP job?
Yeah, I mean, it's a brutal situation to be in, certainly. It's not, certainly not unique to UTEP, but I think that you do want to try to get things under wraps quickly. First, from the perspective of just being able to keep your roster together and not losing a ton of players to the portal. But also, you want to have an idea of what you're looking for and somebody who can come in and have a vision of who they think they can be. One thing that I'd point to is when you look at New Mexico State and Jerry Kill's initial class, he obviously was a special assistant at TCU during his year before New Mexico State. And you look up, and they brought over 3 or 4 TCU kids. They ended up bringing over Eli Stowers at tight end, who was a kid from Texas A&M. They ended up bringing some big-time players who had connections. And I think that if you are UTEP and you want to bring in a coach like that who maybe has some ties, maybe you're able to hire a Kitley and get some of those Texas Tech kids. Maybe you're able to hire somebody like Jeff Grimes, and there's 1 or 2 Baylor players who want to go that way. I do think that you want to be able to jump on it early when kids are still just kind of getting their options. If you're late to the portal, if you're late to high school recruiting, I think you can really set yourself back.
Shehan, it's a fascinating talk. It really is. Can't wait to see what happens. By the way, you've got some great content up on the website at CBSSports.com. I love the story you broke a few hours ago about Oregon State, Washington State, and the Mountain West closing in on a schedule agreement for 2024. That's a story you need to read. Shehan's got a ton of content up on the site right now, breaking stories every, and not just every day, but every couple hours. It's simple as that. Enjoyed the conversation with us. Let's be in touch, and as soon as we find out a name, we'll get you back, and we'll get a chance to talk about that with you.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Shehan Jeyarajah, folks, CBSSports.com as we continue. 4:45, the time. Back with more in a moment. We'll give you the poll results. Which of those UTEP 3 fans should be taking over the team? You might not be surprised by who's leading it. We'll do that next. 600 ESPN El Paso. Getting reports from sources that Eastwood head football coach Julio Lopez has, in fact, applied for the UTEP head coaching position. Now, if that is true, that is a name that, should be pretty familiar to all of El Paso. Julio, a former Miner, somebody who is very well known from his playing and coaching days and what he's done out at Eastwood High. Adrian, I'll ask you this because he was not on our pick or pass list. And that's just because we did not include any high school football coaches. However, I don't think I can ever recall a high school football coach who transitioned to Division I head coaching without ever a stop as an assistant or a coordinator. Now, it's possible that maybe a college, or I should say a former NFL player might have done that. I don't know, but I'm just trying to think if there's been precedent before for someone going from high school head coaching straight to college.
First off, I just want to say this about Julio Lopez. I think he's one of the rising coaches in high school football across the state of Texas, and he's shown that and he's proven that with Eastwood High School having continued success year over year. So he's done a great job with them, and his offense is dynamic as it comes. I mean, it's really really fun to watch at the high school level. But then again, it's the high school level, and
Yes.
we haven't seen this kind of jump. I would love Julio Lopez on staff. I don't think he should be like a linebackers coach, quarterbacks coach, anything like that. He should be on staff if he really wants to with UTEP and has a good rapport with the coach. But yeah, this kind of rise right there, it's unprecedented.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if Julio did apply for the job, I would almost love to get his thought process about how he feels he could make the jump and go directly from high school coach at Eastwood to UTEP and resurrect the program.
Yeah, I think his pitch would actually be great, and I actually think that he would energize you by talking to you about this. And I mean, just from knowing Coach Lopez, I'd also say this: he has been very passionate with us on this show, talking about what changes need to happen with this UTEP football program. So he knows it. He knows this program very well, and he played for it as well. So there you go.
Taking a look at the latest poll from @LiveUTEP News, as far as who would you all rather have as UTEP head football coach, 41 votes are in so far. Jonathan Byers with a 44% voting total. He leads Jacob Cooksey, who has 31.7%, and Joe John Sr., 24.4%. Only 41 votes in. You can vote as to which of the minor superfans should get the opportunity to interview for the job and maybe get the job. So, Adrian, any surprise that Johnny UTEP, Jonathan Byers, is leading this one?
No, if you had to do like a betting odds on this, Jonathan Byers would probably be a minus 150 favorite.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yes.
And then the other two, like plus maybe 125, 150.
Yeah,
right?
Joe John might be like plus 400, honestly.
All right, he's a long shot. Hey, that is a good one, though, at Live UTEP News. I like that poll. Hey, Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl watch. Bernie Olivas coming up next right here. Final hour with you. 600 ESPN El Paso. Adrian Broadus, Alberto here with us as well in the studios. Steve Kaplowitz here. My apologies to Shehan Jeyarajah. I just saw this note, but Shehan and his wife are expecting a child. That is great news. In fact, man, oh man, Shehan's going to be enjoying fatherhood like nobody else. So just a few years ago, they tied the knot, and now, in fact, they have a little one coming up. That is awesome. So really happy for him, and again, congratulations to the Jeyarajah family for that. As Bernie Olivas standing by, and I guess he's working the phones right now.
He's like Adam Schefter right now, Steve. He's got to take every phone call that comes his way.
He does.
Okay.
Look, Bernie looks like right now, you know what he looks like to me? Somebody who's running a marathon, and he's like at the midway point. That's what he feels like to me. Like he hasn't crossed the finish line,
hasn't broken a sweat.
No, but he is on. Like he's in the middle of his marathon. He really is. And by the way, the fact that he hasn't broken a sweat is pretty amazing. He's got to give everybody else tips on how to do that. How do you run 13 miles and not even break a sweat?
Yeah, that's a good point. And by the way, I need that hoodie. I need the hoodie that he's wearing right now. It's the nicest hoodie I think I've seen recently.
That is a sharp hoodie from Bernie Olivas. I agree with you. The executive director of the Sun Bowl Association, Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Congratulations on the parade, by the way. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I saw you on the television coverage with KTSM, and hopefully you can hear out of these headphones. If not, it should be a little bit better. Better now for you, or you still can't hear? Hang on, tell me. Yep, there we go. All right, I'm going to crank it up. I'm going to make you deaf. Bernie, grab a mic and listen. Welcome back to the show. You are busy. You're working the phones. We are less than a week away from finding out who's going to play in the 90th annual Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl football game, and a lot of possibilities still out there, aren't there?
A lot more possibilities now than they were a week ago. So, but they're all still pretty good. A couple of hurdles that were thrown at us, a couple of curveballs that were thrown at us this weekend, but I still think we're going to be in good shape. I'm pretty confident that we're going to be all right.
I'm excited because I feel like, you'll be just fine. We'll talk about those hurdles in a moment and everything else that's going on. By the way, I got to get your thoughts on this. I saw this story a moment ago. Oregon State, Washington State, and the Mountain West are closing in on a scheduling agreement for next season. This is a 7+1 format, which means the Mountain West would play 7 games against conference opponents, 1 against either Oregon State or Washington State. So what that does is it would generate 12 additional games for the Pac-2 in exchange for approximately $14 million. That would be the direct payment to the Mountain West. And then the scheduling agreement would only be in practice for next season. One source told Dennis Dodd, however, that the arrangement being discussed is a 1+1, meaning both sides would exercise to option to continue the model in 2025. So that would be $28 million to the Mountain West. But hey, since they're already receiving everything remaining from the Pac-12 once the schools officially disband, it only makes sense if they can keep this model for a couple of years, even if they lose their chance to go to a New Year's Day game, because ultimately, Bernie, they need to play. They need to find games next year, and rather than necessarily merge immediately with the Mountain West, this kind of gives them the option to eventually attract teams to reform a Pac conference if that's what they choose.
And I think they're doing it the right way. They're not jumping into any conference or anything like that. And I think they have, again, by rules or by law or whatever you want to call it, they have 2 years to keep their conference intact. So they're going to take their time and see what's available to them out there. And, of course, everybody's thinking that they're going to merge somehow with the Mountain West. So I think this is step one. But they do have 2 years to keep their conference intact. So we'll see what happens. I think they're doing it the right way.
I do too, and it gives them options, like you said. They could have immediately just gone right to the Mountain West and say, take us, but now they realize, well, that money coming their way, maybe they will be in a position of power to attract other schools to their league and cherry pick who they want to play with them in the future.
Absolutely, and I think it's only 8 teams that they need.
That's right.
To keep that conference intact and continue the 112-year run that the Pac-12 has had, or that the Pac has had.
And for them, I mean, why wouldn't you want to, instead of just going to a conference because you feel like you have no other option, if you give invites to people and now they come and join your league, maybe it'll just make sense for all the right reasons, especially financially speaking, because maybe there will be a larger piece of the pie for whoever the Pac reforms as their 8-team league than the current leagues that a lot of these schools are playing in right now.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens, but I think, like I said, they're moving in the right direction, I think, and good luck to them, and we'll see. I don't believe that if they do absorb all the Mountain West schools, where they would be considered a Power 5, or a power conference.
Yeah, I agree.
But still, they'll continue to be a conference. And continue that over 100-year tradition.
Well, you'll have the name, and also all that money from that league will essentially be going into those 2 schools until they figure out a way to put the league back together again.
That's correct.
All right, that's also interesting. Money, money talks when it comes down to it.
That's all about the money nowadays.
It is. It really, really is. How about UTEP now looking for a new head football coach after Sunday?
I hate to see coaches lose their jobs. Dana Dim was one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and I hope I know he will land on his feet. But now the search begins. The search begins to find the new replacement. And I've seen all the prospective candidates, and they all seem to be pretty good. The only thing I did see in all those candidates was I don't think any of them had head coaching experience, if I can remember, just looking at the names that have been thrown out there.
Yeah,
they all have good names. They're all good coaches. But, and I was talking to Jay Pritchard, our marketing director, about, we sit there every day and just talk about what's going on. And it's a different animal going from, from a coordinator or from an assistant coach into the head coaching position. But I've known some tremendous coaches who just couldn't handle it as a head coach.
That's true.
It's a different animal. So, but I hope, but there are some great assistant coaches that are going to become great head coaches, and that's how they start. So, hope we get the right one and go from there.
And we also know that the last time UTEP was a consistent power in college football, you were in high school. I mean, that's ultimately, or middle school, it could be. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here.
Back in the late '60s, that's correct.
That's right.
When they were consistently going to bowl games and beat some of the better teams in the country, like Ole Miss and TCU. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think and of course Bob Stahl did a pretty good job as
Bob did a great job.
He did a great job.
But the thing with Bob was he got out at the perfect time. Like, he had 2 winning seasons, had the bowl trip, and then immediately parlayed that into Missouri. He is the only coach since 1967 when the last time UTEP won a bowl game who has actually left the school to go to a better job. Everybody else has been fired. It's pretty remarkable when you start, or retired in the case of Mike Price. But you start to think about that, it's crazy.
Yes, it is. It's been a tough road for UTEP over the last few years. I think and I still think our location hurts us a little bit when you're competing against the Dallases and the San Antonios and those other cities. But I think all we need, just like to tell the Sun Bowl teams, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of teams don't want to come to El Paso to the Sun Bowl until after they're here. And on their way out, they'll always hear it year after year. God, we'll come back anytime you ask us to. Yeah. But for some reason or other, we have a reputation of not being the best. And of course, a lot of the news puts El Paso down quite a bit sometimes with everything that's going on. But once people get here and see what kind of city we are, what kind of people we have, they want to come back. I have people calling me every day. You don't know how many calls I've gotten from all the schools that are possibilities to be here at the 20th Tiger Sun Bowl these last 2 days, asking if they're in the running.
Isn't it crazy how Las Cruces is so sheltered from all of that criticism and talk compared to El Paso, considering they're only 30 miles apart?
But they're in different. They're in a different state.
They are.
They're different states. So
that's right.
So people don't consider them part of us. But we're all part of this huge community here. But you're absolutely right. People think they're in a different state. So what's going on here doesn't affect them.
All right. I want to talk about the potential matchups. Let's do that when we come back. Bernie's here. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl watch. We got a lot more to cover as Sports Talk continues. And don't forget, we also have the opportunity here to get you into UTEP basketball with Keitha Adams and Joe Golding. That's going to be coming up at the top of the hour. John Teicher is going to be live out at Hudson's Grill, 1770 Lee Trevino for UTEP basketball with Keitha Adams and Joe Golding. We'll come back more in a moment. Stay with us. Sports Talk continues right here with Bernie Olivas, Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl watch, and who could be the favorites for the 90th annual game on December 29th. All that and more, 600 ESPN El Paso.
In the El Paso Metroplex, Steve, we have the crash that's still going on the west side, still trying to take care of that. I-10 East at Schuster, we have a crash that's blocking the right lane, blocking the entrance ramp there. So a little bit of a slowdown. Looky who's going on there, I-10 East at Schuster. Also, I-10 East at Vinton, keep in mind that all lanes are blocked. They've been doing construction work out there all day. That's going to continue throughout the night, maybe ending up at 5 in the morning. But I-10 East at Vinton still, they're going to get you onto South Desert, get you back on at Artcraft. Also, we have just that typical slowing. I-10 East, that Spaghetti Bowl area. This update brought to you by Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Remcon. Leo's has the full-service bar, famous tortilla soup. We have the flautas, fajitas, gorditas, chicken, and mole, much more. Family-owned and operated. Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Remcon. I'm Charlie 1, 600 ESPN El Paso.
Back here on the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl Watch, 19 past the hour. Alberto's running the show right now for Adrian. Is Adrian gone for the day? Did he leave an hour early? No, just took off for a few? Oh, I got you. All right. Well, Alberto's handling the show for us. We've got Bernie Olivas as well. Too bad Adrian's not here. We can't talk about him losing and owing lunch for the second straight year in the Chick-fil-A Sun Bowl Selectum contest. We'll save that for Adrian when he comes back, and we'll make sure we greet him with that as soon as he gets into the doors. But let's talk about the game itself, Bernie. What happened over the weekend that could have some impact on who could be playing here on December 29th?
Had nothing to do with the games that were played. I think the coaching changes had a lot to do with what's going to happen from now on. You know, Oregon State losing Jonathan Smith might change the opinion of the Holiday Bowl, who had their eyes set on them. If that happens, well, they would probably take USC. We would get we would get Oregon State. Of course, I talked to my friend over there at the Holiday Bowl, and they said they haven't made up their mind. They've been sold on Oregon State all year long, but of course the coaching, not only the coaching change, but the fact that he's already taken six of his assistant coaches with him, that makes a difference. The other thing that makes a difference is the fact that the transfer portal opens up on Monday.
Yep.
And you don't know what's going to happen with all the coaches leaving. You don't know what's going to happen to Oregon State there. So we'll see what happens. But I think we're going to be within
striking distance potentially for Oregon State.
Right.
Do you think that suddenly the Holiday Bowl goes Utah at 8-4 over Oregon State if given the opportunity?
No, I spoke to my colleague over at the Vegas Bowl, and he says they got Utah.
Oh, so Vegas is taking Utah.
That's correct.
So if Vegas is taking Utah, would Holiday then take Arizona?
No, I think Arizona's going to wind up at the Alamo Bowl.
At the Alamo Bowl.
That's correct.
So Vegas, Alamo. So, and then because of what if Oregon loses to Washington? Then would they go to the Holiday Bowl?
I don't think that I think that both teams are going to wind up in the New Year's Six Bowl.
You do.
The truth. I don't think either of them whoever loses is not going to drop out of the top 12.
So I guess
and
the
as long as they're
question
in the top 12, they're going to be in the New Year's Eve Bowl.
So the question would be, does the Holiday Bowl go USC minus Caleb Williams and a bunch of other guys, or do they go Oregon State minus their head coach? That's going to be the $1 million question.
That's the $1 million question. And I kind of spoke to him. I said, "Well, do you want a ranked team, maybe without a coach, or do you want a team at 6-6 whose players aren't going to play?
7-5, you mean?
Or 7-5, whose players aren't going to be there?" And he says that's the dilemma that he's going through. And of course, that's his choice. So hasn't made up his choice as of today. So we're going to be we'll be waiting to see what happens.
All right. Do you think, by the way, as far as Oregon State goes, I'm going to be interested to see if Uiagalelei plays in the game, and that would be huge.
He's not a senior.
True. That's a good point.
I think he'll play.
He probably would play. He's a junior.
That's correct. He's a junior.
But couldn't he also decide, since he's a junior, couldn't he?
Opt out?
Yeah.
He probably could, but I don't think as a junior he would.
Right.
At least maybe that's my hope, but I think as a junior, I don't think he would.
I'll say this, Damian Martinez is a terrific sophomore running back. He's rushed for almost 1,200 yards for Oregon State and 9 touchdowns.
He's been incredible. I've been watching him over the last few weeks. He is really good.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if Oregon State comes here, even without a head coach, who cares? They have so much talent on that team. That is a team that has been amongst the top 10 in the country for a good chunk of the year.
It's always good to have great coaches on the sideline, but do you really go home? Do you really go and watch a game to watch the coaches coach, or do you want to see the players play? That's. I mean, I've always said that about baseball too, and about the managers. I said, hey, you don't go to a game and watch a manager manage. You want to go see the players play. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, having now you get a Mac Brown down here, which could possibly a possibility now. I'd love to have UNC and Mac Brown back in El Paso and back in Texas. Last time he was here, he was coaching North Carolina against Texas.
So let's talk about this for a second. Clemson won. That puts them at 8-4, and they're probably going to be out of the pool, correct? That's what you're thinking? Or if they are
out of our pool.
Out of your pool. That's right.
Our pool, and they're probably going to wind up in the Holiday Bowl.
Okay. So if Clemson goes to the Holiday Bowl, which makes a lot of sense, you still have Florida State probably going to be in the playoff, assuming they beat Louisville. Although I had an argument over lunch about that today. Does Florida State get to still go to the holiday or to the playoff because the ACC was just a little weaker and they lost their quarterback? Does that ultimately put them in a bad spot, even if they beat Louisville?
Well, I think if they beat Louisville,
You can't take a team that's 13-0 and tell them you're not in the Final Four.
That's exactly right. If they beat Louisville with a third string or second string quarterback,
that's right.
You're a pretty good football team.
Agreed.
You're a pretty good football team, and I think you deserve it if you're 13-0.
So Louisville would then fall to 10-3. They would probably go to what, the Gator Bowl or
Orange Bowl?
Orange Bowl. Okay,
the Orange Bowl.
And then you got North Carolina State at 9-3. Where would NC State be?
Probably at the Gator Bowl or the Cheez-It, the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Oh, either Gator or Pop-Tarts.
Right.
Okay. After that, things get a little interesting because then you've got Clemson. You mentioned a holiday for them. North Carolina, Duke, Miami, all in that same. I mean, those. I would assume North Carolina and Miami would still be right there, amongst your top choices.
That's absolutely exactly. Duke is a good football team. They have lost their coach now. So again, does that change things? It all depends. See, we won't know that until Monday.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
If that changes, we'll see. The transfer portal opens up on Monday, which I think is really a really bad date for the Bulls. Anyway.
But you've got to select on Sunday.
That's exactly what That's exactly right. You pick pick a school, and all of a sudden, because of what they have, and all of a sudden on Monday you have 8, 10, 12 players enter the transfer portal. You don't know what's going to happen.
Now, explain for the ACC how this works. Pac-12, we pretty much know it's going to come down to Oregon State and USC. It's pretty cut and dry, and more than likely it'll be one of those two schools playing in the game here against an opponent from the ACC. How does the selection work when it comes to the ACC and your bowl partners and tie-ins with that?
ACC is a little different. Okay, so you get the CFP, obviously gets first selection, and then usually the champion of the ACC, if they are not in the semis, goes to the Orange Bowl.
So let's just assume in this particular case, Florida State wins. They're in the semis. Now, if Florida State loses to Louisville, how does that work out? Because now neither team will be in the CFP. And then who ends up going to the Orange Bowl? A one-loss Florida State team or a two-loss Louisville team?
I think the winner of the Louisville's Florida State. If Florida State loses, then Louisville will wind up in the Orange Bowl.
Where they put Florida State?
They'll put them in I don't think they will drop out of the.
They got to be in the New Year's. They got to be in a New Year's Day game.
They will be in the New Year's Day game.
Okay.
In the New Year's.
So what you're saying is that right?
The Peach Bowl.
So what you're saying is, no matter what happens in this game, two teams are out of the mix anyway. You know that it's going to be either Orange Bowl for Louisville or Orange Bowl for potentially I think New Year's Six for both.
I think Florida State wins. They'll be in the CFP.
Yeah.
Louisville will be in the Orange Bowl. If Louisville wins. If Louisville wins, Louisville will still go to the Orange Bowl, I think, and Florida State will wind up in a New Year's Six Bowl, possibly the Peach Bowl.
So Louisville's going to the Orange Bowl no matter what.
I think so.
Okay, and then Florida State will be in the New Year's Six or the CFP, depending on what happens.
Or the CFP,
which then leaves, as we've said earlier, North Carolina State, Clemson, North Carolina. You do have schools like Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech that were 6-6, but they qualified because they were 5-3 in the league. They played better in the league than they did in their non-conference games.
After the Orange Bowl, the ACC, there's two pools, and there's two pools, and one consists of the Cheez-It Bowl, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and the Gator Bowl. So the next teams that are available by record they will pick among those schools. All right.
Overall record or conference record?
Overall records.
Okay. So you said Cheez-Its, Pop-Tarts. I thought Cheez-Its became Pop-Tarts. They're separate bowls this year?
Yes, they are.
God, Kellogg's is all over the place.
Kellogg's
man.
is sponsoring 3 bowls.
Wow.
Sort of.
By the way, you heard about the edible mascot for the Pop-Tarts Bowl,
yes,
right?
Sort of. It's sort of Kellogg's, which they've split up into 3 different companies, and Pop-Tarts and Cheetos are part of the snack company. Frosted Flakes is part of the cereal company, and they, I think, have the nutritional company. So they are.
So we have snack, cereal, nutritional.
Correct.
Got it. All right. So Cheez-Its, Pop-Tarts are in one version. That's one thing. And then, all right, so the point is this. There are 3 bowls. So let's just assume Clemson goes to one, Georgia Tech North Carolina State goes to another, and then the third team would be either North Carolina, Duke, Miami, Georgia Tech, or Virginia Tech, correct?
That's correct.
What are you hearing as far as the third possible team?
I haven't heard much about that, and I would right now off the bat, I would say that North Carolina would get the nod.
I would agree with that. So let's just say North Carolina State, Clemson off the board, which then means you get to choose from Miami, Duke, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Boston College, and Syracuse. Now, what's interesting here is that you can put down your preference, but ultimately it's the ACC that has the final say as to who goes where.
Not necessarily. They will tell us the 3 bowls. Now the next pool is the three other bowls, which is the Pinstripe Bowl in New York, the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, and us. And we will have a choice of those bowls. So if all of us pick a different,
if y'all pick a different team, then it's easy. What if 2 of you pick the same team?
Then there's a criteria that we use to break the tie.
I want to hear about this. Okay, let's do Sports Center because Adrian's back. We'll do that, and then
I know I lost, guys. I lost.
Well, we haven't broken it officially to you yet, but yes, we'll talk about that too as we continue. But here he is, a dejected Adrian Broadus with this bottom of the hour Sports Center update. Critics and fans on social media. This is fantastic.
Hey, Pinky's really getting in on this too. He says Joe John Jr. should be head coach, Jonathan Byers offensive coordinator, and then he says Cooksey, maybe Waterboy, maybe.
Oof, boy, oh boy. Hey, you realize if Byers got the head football job, he would be firing people every year if they didn't get it done for him.
Every game.
He could be. It could be the quickest turnover in the history of college football.
Yeah,
I almost want to see that.
And players, fans might like that. Like, he kicks off players left and right if they do a bad job. So, yeah, I'm totally behind Jonathan Byers as the next head coach.
That's why he's running away with the vote. Good job, Johnny UTEP. Way to come back and take this poll for us. Bernie, before we went to SportsCenter, you were talking about the potential tiebreakers and how this works. If, in fact, you and one of the 2 other bowls, the Pinstripe Bowl or the Duke's Mayo Bowl, have the same team listed at the top of your list. Now, let me ask you this. When you submit, do you all submit at the same time, or will you submit once you are aware of who the other 3 bowls have already chosen? How does that work?
We're all supposed to submit at the same time.
Okay.
Doesn't always happen that when we used to do it live. That's the way we used to, when we were there in a meeting room, we'd write down the stuff and turn it in at the same time, and they would. Now we do it by phone, or by Zoom this year, this Sunday, and
Gotcha.
And it'll be hard to get to do them at the same time, but we all pretty much know what we're going to do.
You do. So, for the most part, the Sun Bowl Association has come up with your list of ACC teams that you're interested in. Do you usually go 3 deep, 5 deep?
4 deep.
4 deep when you list your teams. Okay.
4 deep.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So as far as tiebreakers, you want to talk about tiebreakers?
Let's do that.
It gets, after 2 or 3 years, it gets a little complicated. But like, say this is the first year. The first criterion, if 2 bowls want the same team, is proximity to the bowl. We would lose that one every year
to everybody
because we're here. But if that same thing happens the following year, then that doesn't apply. So say the Charlotte Bowl and us both want Wake Forest.
Yep.
Wake Forest. Well, who's closer to Wake Forest? The Charlotte Bowl or us? They win.
Yes.
Next year, same thing happens. Both of us want
the same 2 bowls want the same team. Then you would get.
Then we would get it.
Is this the first year of that?
No, this is several years. So
no, I mean, is this? In other words, have you ever lost out on a team because of proximity with another bowl before?
Oh, absolutely, we have. We lost the Pinstripe.
Okay,
we lost Miami to Pinstripe a few years back.
Okay, no, but what I mean is, if this happens again Sunday, is it reset again, or would you get the nod because this has already happened to you before?
It carries on.
It does.
It does carry on.
Do you so will you have the tiebreak over Duke Mayo and Pinstripe this year?
We have one. I think we have one over Duke's Mayo.
Okay,
not over the Pinstripe.
Not over Pinstripe. But you have Duke's,
we've
Mayo.
never won the same team.
I got you. All right.
So, like I said, and then after that, then it goes to the last time they were at that bowl game.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was of course the opponent comes into that as well. Who would their opponent be, and when was the last time they played? So there's about 7 steps, and I can't remember them all because it never gets past the the proximity to the bowl.
It's interesting though. I mean, it could be USC Miami. It could be Oregon State and Duke when it's all said and done. Like, you just don't know for sure until Sunday what's going to happen.
Right. Could be Boston College.
That's true too.
It all depends. And you said Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. I'm sorry, Virginia Tech.
Well, you've got 4 to list though, and I would assume one of your 4 is still going to be North Carolina, because even if you think that they're going to be in the top 3, if not, and you don't list them, then you lose out on an opportunity just in case they're on the board.
Right. Well, again, we're going to list 4, even though there might be 6. But those last 2, would probably not be the best for the Sun Bowl that year,
right?
Because of their opponent. So, like I said, it's not as easy as it seems. And our football committee, which is made up of 11 of us, we sat there yesterday and really hashed out all possibilities, and we're going to do it again tomorrow and see where we're going. But it's not as easy as, okay, I'll take this team because there's other bowls involved.
It's tough.
From the Pac-12, it's different. Pac-12, we're going to get the next team available with the highest conference record. So it's kind of made, unless there's a tie. Yeah. Now, if there's a tie, then we do get a choice, which could happen this year with UCLA. Now we do not, by contract, we do not have to take the same team 2 years in a row. But we can if we want to.
Okay. Yeah. Did UCLA travel last year? A little bit?
For UCLA, I would say yes. For UCLA.
By the way, does Oregon State travel?
They travel very well.
Will they travel, you think, with no head coach?
It's hard to tell.
Never know.
Hard to tell now.
Yeah.
Hard to tell. But they do travel. They do follow their team very well.
Congratulations. We tied this year for the overall lead for the Chick-fil-A Sun Bowl Selectum contest. And I know for you, you're still pretty excited because you won 8 last week. I won 9. And then Adrian, who took some chances, trying desperately to pull off a Hail Mary like you did the week before, finished with 7 out of 10. So unfortunately, Bernie, for the second year in a row, Adrian Broadus has lost our season-long contest and will once again owe us all lunch at Chick-fil-A.
Can't wait. Can't wait, Adrian.
I'm depressed. I thought we had championship weekend. I remembered we didn't have it like on Sunday, and it was too late to change my picks because the games all happened on Saturday. So I'm just done. I have to pay for Chick-fil-A again. I'll own up to it. I'm no problem at all for that. I'm just so disappointed in myself. Back-to-back years. I would at least wanted to save this year, but back-to-back years going down. That's
How many games did you finish back of us?
2. You guys tied. It was 90, and I was or you were 92, and I was 90.
So you were 2 back.
Yes.
That's how close it was.
And I thought,
so you were 1 back going into last week.
Correct. That's right.
Wow.
Yes. And I was thinking to myself, well, I probably shouldn't have picked Colorado all those times.
I did the same thing, Adrian.
But you won. You're not the biggest loser.
No, I'm not. But you know what they say about coming in tied, don't you?
What do they say?
Tell them.
It's like kissing your little sister.
No fun.
That is definitely no fun. Adrian, I have a big question for you. Now that it is official and you've lost, are you going to wait till next fall for the return of the honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich to pay up, or are we going to go? Are we going to go sooner than that? By the way, that sandwich was launched in August 28th of this year. So, are we going to wait until right before the season starts to pay up, or are we going to do it sooner than that? What do you think?
We should do it sooner than that. I took too long last time to take you guys out. This time around, I'm not going to do it that way. We should do it to celebrate the the official announcement of the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl
There you
teams, maybe the week after or something like that. Once things, I guess, slow down a little bit for Bernie Olivas, that would be my go-to.
I like that. What do you have next week? After the announcement, the coaches will be there for the Zoom call, and then are we going to do like travel parties flying in?
Yes, next week, either Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the advanced parties will probably be here. So
okay.
I will probably be tied up all day Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
I got you. By the way, and then things settle down a little bit for you, and then we'll go from there.
Working towards basketball was coming up December 20th and 21st. Let's not forget the West Star Don Haskins Invitational.
That's right around the corner, too.
Right around the corner.
Parade, let's get a recap on that. How'd the parade go this year?
I thought the parade was fantastic. I thought the theme lent itself to some tremendous floats. If you didn't go, the music was incredible from start to finish because the theme was rock and roll extravaganza. And boy, did we hear a lot of great tunes coming down. Every float had some rock and roll music. It was pretty awesome. The weather was absolutely fantastic, and the crowd could have been one of the largest crowds ever.
Well, the weather was beautiful. It really was. It was perfect, right? When you think about everything. So that does make a lot of sense. Hey, by the way, I'm curious about one other thing. So you mentioned the West Star Don Haskins Sun Bowl Basketball Invitational. There's the Sun Bowl Basketball Skills Camp sponsored by Marathon. That's going to be happening at Memorial Gym also the day before the tournament starts. And then you've got Cheer Camp on December 28th. You've got the Fan Fiesta presented by El Paso Live that same day. The pregame fan party at Glory Field should be open to the public on game day, and then kickoff at 12 o'clock. It's a busy, busy schedule.
It's a busy schedule, and like I said, all of that is free except for the ticket to the game. Fan Fiesta's free, pregame party's free. The skills camp is free. Everything is free. The only two events we charge for the whole year are the basketball tournament and the football game. So come on out, enjoy it, pick up a ticket, have a lot of fun, and then go to the Tony Tiger Sun Bowl.
Great to see you. Thanks for
Always
giving us the time. I feel much better about the game now because I have some clarity for change, which is good, and looking forward to the big announcement. Let's talk also about the party coming up this weekend where you can go out, hang out, and be ready for the big announcement.
Absolutely. This Sunday from 12:30 to 2 o'clock over at the Sunland Park Racetrack, we will have a announcement Sunday party. There'll be free food, giveaways, and, of course, you buy your own drinks. And I have already received the email from the Pac-12. I will get that phone call at 1:30, so by 1:45 we'll know who's from the Pac-12. And I think at 1:15 I will get the call from the ACC. And by 1:45 we will make an announcement and know exactly who's going to be playing in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. So be the first to know. So come on out. It's free of charge. And we'll have a lot of fun. We've been having a lot of fun with that party, so come on out.
Selection Sunday, folks, Sunland Park Racetrack and Casino. All right, Bernie, enjoy it. We'll see you Sunday. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Come back, wrap things up. John Teicher will join us as well during our final countdown. He's live at Hudson's. We're going to get you ready for that show. Coming up next, 600 ESPN El Paso. Final countdown as we wrap things up here on a Tuesday edition of the program. Man. Say hello to John Teicher. He's hanging out at Hudson's Grill, 1770 Lee Trevino. Teish, you've got an hour full of UTEP basketball, but like everybody else, everybody wondering what is going to happen here over the next week to 10 days as UTEP searches for their next head football coach.
Yeah, and I'm as anxious as anyone else to see what Jim Center decides to do. I have texted a couple of people over the last couple of days that normally answer me right away, and that has not been the case this time, Steve. So as they say, when there's smoke, there's fire. So I guess we'll see, right?
Are you on the hiring committee when it comes to the interviews?
No.
Have you ever been?
Not with football, no.
Okay. I'm surprised. I would figure a man like you, who's been doing this 40+, would be able to throw a couple of zingers at some of these guys and get a good indication as to what you hear.
That'd certainly be fun. That's for sure.
I know. John, the hardest part is trying to figure out where UTEP is going to go for this. I mean, you could go older, more experienced coach. You could go young, up-and-coming, on-the-rise coach. There's, small schools. There's the larger Power Fives. There's the mid-majors. There's so many different ways UTEP can go.
Well, my opinion is, Steve, whomever they go with has got to bring with him, whether it's directly or indirectly, an entertaining offense that sells tickets.
Yep.
We have to be able to sell tickets here, Steve. It's got to be somebody that can talk to fans, that can talk to boosters, that can talk to donors, somebody that can sell his own program. And that's how intercollegiate athletics and college football has changed even in the last 5 to 10 years, is that the head coach has to be able to do all of that. The head coach is more of that now than he is a coach of football. Yeah, he still has to coach his coaches and obviously make sure that they're prepared to do what they need to do. But the head coach of a college football program has got to be everything now, Steve. And, it sounds like it might be something that's impossible to find. But
No.
I think there are people out there that fit the bill.
The last truly entertaining style of football was Mike Price. I don't think anybody would debate that.
Yeah, I agree. Although, again, now that time has passed, although Mike, certainly liked to talk to fans, he liked to talk to donors, he might still be relevant in this day and age, but it's changed so dramatically, so quickly, and it's going to be interesting to see what transpires.
Can't wait. But in the meantime, we've got UTEP basketball with Keitha Adams and Joe Golding coming up next. John Teicher standing by live at Hudson's Grill, folks. Head on down, 1770 Lee Trevino. We'll join him next right here, 600 ESPN El Paso.